In a moment, I'll be reading a poem of Rumi's, but first, to remind you that I had mentioned to the people attending the silent retreat that when we remove distractions from our life, remove the busyness, the activities that keep us busy, and we give ourselves a day or 2 days when we're wide open, vulnerable, in the moment. Often what happens is that our ancient Guru is delighted to see us in that condition and begins to draw nearer. It sometimes brings discomfort because we're not accustomed to the Guru who stirs the inner life. So that's why some of us today felt a surprising sadness as we walked about in this beautiful day. But not to be concerned. The Guru has been waiting for us. And he comes near to those who have sat with him and been with him for hundreds and hundreds of years. And this is what our problem is, according to Rumi. There is some kiss we want. We want that kiss our whole lives. We want the touch of spirit on the body. The seawater begs the pearl to break its shell. And the lily, oh the lily, how passionately it needs some wild darling. At night, I open the window and I ask the moon to come and press its face against mine. I say, breathe, breathe into me. Close the language door and open the love window, for the moon will not use the door, only the window. In meditation, we take a risk. We open ourselves. We're receptive. We allow the unknown to enter. And the great teachers tell us we must be very brave in order to take the jump, in order to have that final transformation occur. We have to be ready, open to whatever comes. So having this opportunity in this rarefied atmosphere to be open in the meditative state. Watch what happens. Watch as the witness, as we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Watch. I've heard a number of comments from our staff and residents that they're so impressed with you. Even when they felt like talking a little bit, the staff and residents, you just wouldn't allow it. Your silence was so powerful. So you're really leaving your mark on this ashram. Every silent retreat group does. But as I said, this one seems very, very powerful. So keep it up. We have another day tomorrow. And don't look so sad. It's a full day. Just don't go to sleep tonight. It'll last even longer. I'm going to try and read 3 short selections because they seem so appropriate to the topics that have come up. And by the way, 2 people asked me, Corey Gallagher and someone else, the name of the recording that we meditated with. It's called Witnessing from Second to Second, and the gift shop has it. This is an excerpt from one of Gurdjieff's, I think all his papers are famous, but this one many people have requested me to read from time to time. It's called Karma and Meditation. The law of karma is an eternal, inevitable fact of nature. How's that for a definition? The law of karma is an eternal, inevitable fact of nature. That's the law of cause and effect. That was my karma, you see? And you're part of it, Sarat. Thank you. It's funny, when I'm at the ashram, I need no light to read. Must be your reflection. The paper was perfectly readable. Of course, it's a little better now. It's amazing that I could read that without any light. There's a lot of light in this room without this light. Everything, I should read this again. The law of karma is an eternal, inevitable fact of nature, coming from a great enlightened being. It's a fact, an inevitable fact. Therefore, the present existence of an individual, our present existence, is in accordance with his past karma, and in like manner, his future will be decided in accordance with his present karmas. Karmas, for anyone who doesn't know, is action. Any action that is taken. Even thinking is considered an action. Everything is decided by karma, including one's life, its character, suffering, prosperity, personality, progress. Literally all things are decided by karma. Now, whether a person is able to remember his past or not, his present life, his present life is a direct consequence of that. Our present life is a direct consequence of our past life or lives. By the way, I've told many people that although Gurdjieff presents the problem directly as it is, that's the problem, he always says something sweet to us about that problem and how we can change what seems to be inevitable to us. So don't be disheartened, because good news is coming. See, it's true. my grandmother Sarah said, anyone who sneezes at the end of your sentence is pronouncing it as truth. And my grandmother Sarah was never wrong. We all love our grandmothers, don't we? That's why nowadays, now that I'm the age of a grandmother, everybody loves me. I noticed that. It only happened when my gray hairs came. It's not true exactly. I tell you, it happens every silent retreat. By Saturday night, I'm positively giddy. It happens in the silence, and it happens because of your power. What's going on? I don't question it. I'm just very happy, you can tell. I have to restrain myself, though, so that I can get through all 3 readings without digressing too much. And this is an important topic. Generally, Sri Brahmananda says, people do not recall their past lives. Yet memory is not the ultimate reality. No one recalls his birth or her birth, yet surely there was a day when each of us, in body form, was born. Nor can we recall whether we entered this world feet first or head first. Why, even people with wonderful powers of memory may find it impossible to remember what they were doing exactly 5 years ago on the same day and the same month. So memory, therefore, is merely a part of our knowledge, a part of our consciousness. It is hardly the whole of it. Nevertheless, one may be able to infer particulars about his or her past life from the tendencies of the present one. By our tendencies, our behavior, how we usually relate to people, how we act, what habits we have. They often form a very clear picture, Sri Brahmananda is saying, about our past lives. And surely one ought to be capable of judging the future by considering the nature and the scope of his or her present activities. So by our present life, what's going on? Not this weekend, you know, is a rare occasion. Happens once a year at this ashram so far. So you know this is a rare event for you, spending 2.5 days in silence in a magnificent spiritual place like this. And in the weather that we receive today, how often does that happen with the other ingredients? So what Sri Brahmananda is saying, looking at our normal, everyday, day-to-day life, there's a picture in there. It's like a sequel is coming. We're seeing one movie, and for sure, unless something changes, the sequel will be more of the same, right? You agree with it? Has to. I know you don't like that. You don't even want to agree with that, because you don't like that picture. But my friend Hanuman in the back, Joe Pauline Hanuman, always likes to say, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. He tells me that every time I say something about past tendencies revealing the past. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. It's the nature of repeating same behavior each and every lifetime, without restraining it. The Gita says it's difficult to stop it by discipline. You stop one thing, then another bad habit springs up. But you can begin to restrain it, not by discipline, but, as Gurji will tell you in these last words, therefore, if a man or woman is a serious, critical observer, he can correctly explore all three phases of his or her life: the past, the present, and the future. It is the present that holds the key to understanding all of one's karmas. For this reason, we must take great care in scrutinizing one's present tendencies. I know Kalya Devi's not part of our silent retreat this time. She has been before. So Kalya Devi, what's the one word that Gurji is referring to? Witnessing. That's always a theme of our retreat too. Why? Because Sri Brahmananda, in the last, especially the last 10 years of his physical life, mentioned it all the time. Because he realized that disciplining ourselves hasn't worked. He had been our guru for 30 years in his physical body in this lifetime. I say 30 years in this ashram, but when he came to America, it was years before that. And he said, like many gurus, I'll be happy if I get one or two of my thousands of disciples who have not only understood intellectually these teachings, but have applied them. So he knew that we would find disciplining ourselves very difficult. So he started talking about what the Gita referred to more than 5,000 years ago, the importance and the necessity of witnessing. Because it's not our willpower, it's not our vigilance, it's not our earnestness, it's our ability to witness. If we don't witness and we're not aware of the same behavior again and again and again, there's no hope for change. We have to be able to say, you know, that's my habit. That's my habit to, eat sugar after 7 o'clock. If we don't notice that, we're just busily enjoying the sugar in the chocolate cake or the ice cream. We don't notice that, it's always after 7 that I do that. Or the old story of, I just told it recently, but it's the same importance. A master was approached by his elderly disciple, 65-year-old disciple. And he said, Master, I've been with you, I've tried so hard, I get up 4 a.m. And he listed all the things he had been doing to attain enlightenment. And the Guru nodded gravely and he said, you're right. I have noticed you trying very hard. And the disciple was very encouraged by that, until the master said, it's just one more thing I need you to do. I have noticed also that you have this habit of crossing your right leg over your left. I think you should try to make it natural to cross your left leg over your right. Could you do that? And the disciple said, of course I could do that. I'll be back when that's accomplished. 10 years went by. 20 years went by. And then the master made inquiry. And he said, what happened to that disciple who was so devoted? They said, we don't know what happened before, but About a month ago, he came out of his room shining. He said, well, he didn't come to see me. He probably didn't even remember that he was supposed to see you. So when that old habit finally was understood, and in that understanding, it just ended. There was no need to return to the Master because the enlightenment had already occurred. So sometimes it's the smallest thing, but it's holding us back because we haven't observed it, we haven't noticed it. And understanding is the key, not only to peace, peace through understanding. Most of you are too young to remember that was the theme of the 1965 World's Fair. Peace through understanding. Some of the exhibits are still there from 1965 in Queens. Gurdjieff loved that slogan. There was a big flag saying, peace through understanding. He took us to the World's Fair until our money ran out. It was 2-3 times a week. He would call somebody and say, you have money? We need car and we need to go to World's Fair. He loved it. He said, I feel my majesty in the World's Fair. But he particularly liked that slogan. So Gurdjieff is saying that the witnessing in the present, not remembering, not analyzing the past, because that takes lifetimes, this analytical probing. Yeah, for a year you can do it, but to continually look and then one day say, well, now I understand the reason for this behavior, but I can't stop. I don't know how to stop. Because you can understand intellectually, but if you don't get at the root, and the root is what? Not the non-talking people, please. But there are some who are talking. The root is the thinking mind. The thinking mind. That's what causes the eating of the sweets after 7 o'clock. I have a son, as some of you know, and when we go to visit him in San Diego, Dharmadev, who has a big sweet tooth, will say, Brett, do you have any more comfort food? Because he keeps a freezer full of what he calls comfort food. That's the only thing that comforts him when everything else fails. Even meditation sometimes fails, but not M&Ms. I don't know why you're not laughing. I guess I'm the only happy one. Tomorrow you will be happy. I promise. I promise. You know, I'm really giddy. I told Karuna after the Gita this morning that I was intoxicated. And she said, be careful. Be careful. Where's your cane? If any of you saw me walking with a cane today, it's because I'm shaking. It's ever since Karuna chanted the Gita verses. Didn't you feel a little high this one? Yeah, Kalakarni said, oh yeah. How many felt a little high this morning? Yeah, Sanskrit will do it. Where's Karuna? Karuna, you made them drunk, Karuna. Drunk with joy. But I really was. I told Dharmadev and I told Karuna, and she knows me, so she instantly became alarmed, and she said, you should take rest, and where's your cane? Okay. So it is the present that holds the key to understanding all of one's karmas. For this reason, one must take great care in scrutinizing one's present tendencies. I used to say when I was teaching, well, I wasn't teaching, but offering the beginner's class way in the 60s, way back there. And Gurdjieff said I was perfect to do it because no one in his present company in those days had experienced as many shocks as I had. He said, you have had 1,000,000 shocks, so nobody can tell you anything that you haven't experienced. You are the perfect one to talk to beginners. And so they brought me many questions, many problems, and even then, I remembered saying to them, postpone thinking about it, about something that happened. And now, lately I've been saying, wait 3 days. In those days, I was saying, postpone thinking about it. Don't make sure you do not dwell. Switch your attention to something else. And I said, later when you feel quieter, then take another look and see if it's really worth having that reaction stay with you. But later on, years later, I started saying, wait 3 days. I called it the Scarlett O'Hara remedy. That means fiddle-dee-dee, I don't like what happened. I'll think about that tomorrow. But I say tomorrow's too soon for us. We need 3 days at least. When a shock occurs, when a really bad encounter with someone occurs, or you have a bad encounter with yourself, you don't like your own behavior, you don't like your own thinking, be a little kind. We're doing the best we know how. Considering where we come from, we're doing great. So don't be so hard. Wait 3 days, and then look more affectionately at what you were thinking, what you were feeling. We're products of our background and our genetic carryover. So be kind. Don't be so hard. If you're not going to be kind to yourself, how can you ask others to be kind to you? It sounds simplistic, but why don't we do it? We're all very hard on ourselves. Nod your head if you agree with me. Very good. Hatha yoga. Okay. So, the key is in the present, which gives even more importance to witnessing, because witnessing is in the here, now. Just witness, but do not judge. The judging is what's causing the guilt and I guess some of the treatment you give yourself is very harsh. I hear about it, and I'm always saying, you're doing the best you can. I'm doing the best I can. Considering we are byproducts of the past, we're doing very well. So, reading number 2. If you like to talk about these things and have dialogues, come on other Saturdays, because that's my usual approach to these. I read and then I say, what jumped out at you as being very important? What's the essence of this? What will you do to bring about this transformation? Do you need a transformation? That's how we talk on Saturday nights. But I don't want to torment you, because I know you have the answers and you're dying to tell, but I don't want you to. Tomorrow, feedback time. You can say whatever you want. Funny, one of our guests, one of the people attending the retreat, shortly after he was here, said, will I be able to give feedback on Sunday? And he said, I have feedback I'd like to give. I'm a little worried now because it might be negative feedback, because nothing good had happened yet, unless the office had been very kind. But it was very funny. First time I heard a question, can I give feedback on Sunday? shortly after someone arrived. So I have to meditate that it should be very good feedback, because he'll probably be the first one. This is from one of the great gurus from India. There's Shirdi Sai Baba, and then there's Ramana Maharshi, Sri Ramana Maharshi. We were introduced to him by Guruji. Guruji had no problem introducing other masters to us. We read from all the masters, and he said, why to be worried? Truth is truth. Any enlightened person will be agreeing with me, he said. So listen to one, you listen to all. And Guruji himself liked a little variety. So we read from all the enlightened masters. One of his favorites, because he liked the way he knew, had met Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. He was living at in his time, and I'm sure he would have visited him. I think he said he ran into him when he met him on the road. He used to walk. Ramana Maharshi liked to walk. I promised you a teaching that would help us in our daily life, our practical lives. And I found this. Devotee, is a vow of silence useful? Not talking about 2 days, that's not a vow of silence. Many people in India take a vow of silence and they don't speak for 10 years. So this questioner is asking Bhagavan, is a vow of silence useful? Bhagavan, the inner silence is self-surrender. That simply means living without the sense of ego. That's the real silence. Devotee, is solitude necessary for a renunciate sannyasin? Bhagavan, and they're all so tough. This is known as tough love from these gurus. They don't take any nonsense from us. They see right through these questions that we ask. So the devotee said, is solitude necessary for a sannyasin, for a renunciate? Bhagavan, solitude is in the mind of a person. One man may be in the thick of the world and yet maintain perfect serenity of mind. Such a person is always in solitude. Another may live in the forest, but still be unable to control his mind. He cannot be said to be in solitude. Solitude is an attitude of the mind. One person actually came back from India and said he had visited a renunciate, a sannyasin, in a loincloth in a cave. And we were told of the shock he received to see him meditating in front of a laptop. A laptop. This is not a lie. He had brought his laptop with him into the cave. And he said he was in solitude. We wished he had taken a picture, because nobody believes us. Dharmadev, is that what we heard? Dharmadev saying, oh yeah. We had another experience of a yogi who had been brought over here by one of his benefactors, and that yogi had been in silence for 10 years, in a cave, no laptop, in silence for 10 years. And the weekend program was already set up. Guruji had 2 guest speakers coming. And this one came without any announcement. Apparently someone sent him to me because I was organizing the programs for the ashram in those days. And he said, I would like to speak tonight. And I said, oh, Yogi Raj, perhaps next weekend. I will not be here next weekend. I said, but there are two speakers and Gurji tonight. Who is above you, young lady? I said, Gurji is above me, but I don't think you should disturb him. He said, do you know what my topic is? I said, no. What is your topic? If you know my topic, you will want to hear me speak. I said, what is your topic? And this is not a lie. He said, my topic is how my silence helped me overcome my anger. Dharmadev, true. Dharmadev wanted to throw him off the property because he was creating a whole disruption. Anyway, some other night I'll tell you Gurji's response to this sannyasi who had spent 10 years nurturing his rage, apparently, and planning to bring it to me. I knew that. He says, a man attached, solitude is an attitude of the mind. A man, a woman attached to the things of life cannot ever attain solitude, wherever that person may be, whereas a detached individual is always in solitude. As this implies, Bhagavan did not approve of a vow of silence, such as people sometimes take in order to create a sort of solitude in society. The real silence, he taught, is a still mind. If the mind is active, there is no benefit in not speaking. What is needed is to control, restrain both thought and speech. Once you learn the art of witnessing, and you do it naturally, the witnessing itself will restrain the speech, will change your behavior, because you're stopping to look at it. And that pause is enough to bring about a change. So you're not jumping into the old habit. You're already putting a pause, a restraint of a pause, and it changes. You're not so compelled to act in the same old way. You'll hear more in a minute. It's a beautiful exchange. Bhagavan Maharshi, Ramana Maharshi spoke only 100 words or less a day. So this was an important conversation going on. The silence, this is Bhagavan, the last comment was the commentary of the disciple who had edited the book. But this is Ramana Maharshi. The silence of solitude is forced silence. Restrained speech in society is equivalent to silence, for then a man is rightfully controlling his speech. There must be a speaker before there can be speech. If the mind of the speaker is engaged otherwise, as I just said, in the art of witnessing, speech is restrained. When the mind is turned inwards, it is active in a different way, and it is not eager to speak. The purpose of a vow of silence is to limit the mental activities provoked by speech. But if the mind is controlled, this is unnecessary, and the silence becomes natural. And this, again, is a commentary of the editor. Until, he was saying, Bhagavan was saying, until the mind is ready to do so, ripe, it's not even possible to give up activity. So the devotee says, well, how does activity help? Doesn't it simply increase the already heavy load upon us that we have to get rid of? Bhagavan's classical answer: action performed without any selfish motive purifies the mind and helps it to fix itself in meditation. So any action we do, any service we do, done without any selfish motivation, purifies the mind so that it can help the mind through the meditative process to break through the mind's conditioning. Meditation does it mysteriously and magically. We were told that by Sri Brahmananda. He was so lovely. We would say, but how, Gurji? How does meditation do that? We thought we had become accustomed to his always answering our questions. And we said, how does meditation do that? That was the burning question. He said, I don't know. But it happens that way. I've experimented many times. I've brought a restless mind to meditation, and instantly it's gone. I don't know how that happens, but try it. It's magical. Don't you want anything magical? Yes, yeah. We thought all the time he knew, but no, he said, even the most intuitive mind, brilliant mind, cannot know what happens beyond the mind. The mind is still too limited. So we have to move where the mind is not, to take in the vastness of our consciousness. And once it happens, we're so happy it happens. We don't care how it happens or why it happens. We're just glad it happened. So take a chance. As I always say, why would he lie? He didn't come all the way from India. He left an important life there, and important service there. He was a guru in India too. He came here because he said his most ancient disciples are here. They're waiting for him. He has something to finish here. So I'm just telling you what he said. This devotee says, how does activity help? And Bhagavan answered, if you have no selfish motivation, it helps to purify the mind and fix it in meditation or witnessing. The devotee says, well, supposing one were to meditate constantly without any activity. What if I just take myself to India and I just meditate? And Bhagavan says, try it. I tell you, your latent tendencies will not let you do that. Meditation only comes gradually. That means the ability to witness. That's what he's talking about. Because meditation is our state. It's always available. But the ability to be in that state, he's saying, that comes gradually. Sometimes it loses in translation, but I've heard Gurji say that. The ability to be in that state, that comes after a lot of practice witnessing. Being a witness means that you cannot be a judge at the same time. And it's our judging that gets us into trouble. Judging our behavior, judging the behavior of others. Devotee. Now this is what Bhagavan was sensing in the questioner's earlier questions. The devotee finally comes out with it. His real reason for wanting Bhagavan Maharshi to say, stop all activities and just go to India, or if you're in India, go into a cave, meditate. That's what he wanted him to say, because listen to what he says now. The fact is, I'm not taking any more pleasure in my family. They give me no pleasure at all. There remains nothing for me to do there. I've done what had to be done, and now there are grandsons and granddaughters and daughters-in-law and sons-in-law. I'm improvising, but that's the tone. He just blamed it on the grandsons and granddaughters, but you could tell that the translator left off the whole list. So now he's saying, should I remain there with the family, or should I leave it and go away from householder life? These gurus never say what we expect. They're unpredictable. This is Maharshi's answer. You just stay where you are. The question for you is, where are you now? Are you in the house, or is the house in you? Is there any house apart from you? I mean, who's seeing that house, that family, as he's seeing it? He's seeing it. And that's what Maharshi's telling you. You're seeing the family through your eyes, which are full of need and desire. Are you in the house, or is the house in you? And is there any house apart from you? If you become established in your own place, you will find that all things have merged into you, and such questions will become unnecessary. So the devotee finally says, after all those questions, so you're saying I should remain at home? Is that what you're saying? Bhagavan, I'm saying you are to remain in your true state.